right, DMV Sports 3. Now, it's called the OGs of DMV because yanked out, they yanked our channel again. They yanked it again, fellas. Maybe we shouldn't talk about that, though. Maybe we shouldn't talk about that. But today we're going to go right into
YouTube is such a wonderful place to be. So
we're going to go right into the show, fellas, man. We got a special guest on today because we're going to do a different kind of show today. We're going to do one on the hip-hop history about the past, I guess, during the pandemic and up to this year, where we had some icons that passed away, some really big guys in the industry who we all grew up with, watching and listening to. We got a special guest on today. His name is Rodger Jones. He is on a show called the Laffeyette Cafe. Now, he is the in-house historian, and the show creator is CeeLo Brown, who is one of the producers. I can go through this guy's history. It'll take forever, but he's been involved with people like Big Daddy Kane, Corrupt, Erick Sermon, Q-Tip, Nikki Dee, Red, Hot Lover, and on and on and on. So he has his credentials to be what he is and where he is. Let's bring him on, Mr. Rodger Jones. How you doing, sir?
Hey. What's going on, Brother Jones?
How you doing, sir?
How's everyone?
Doing good, man.
All right, we're here.
Excellent.
I wish you could bring you on in a different kind of atmosphere, but hey, listen, it's even though they have passed away, man, it's still a celebration of their life as well. And we just lost Biz Markie to diabetes complications, man. So we all brothers, man. Let's try to keep our spirits up, but let's keep our health up as well. Go to the doctor when you need to, man. These things are not optional. You can't just try to do it yourself. Sometimes you need help, and let's try to get that help for one another. Even though we encourage each other to do such things. But when you heard about Biz Markie passing, man, where were you at? Did y'all cover that on y'all show?
Well, now it's strange you asked that. I actually did a follow-up story because the rumors were abounding that he was already dead.
I remember that.
All over social media that he had passed away.
Right.
And I got on the air that show the same day it was announced he passed. I actually did clarification, let everyone know Biz is still alive. Big Daddy Kane actually had called him and spoke to him and said that he was alive. Of course, he was in hospice. And I got done with the show. We were walking out to the car. My wife actually sent me the link saying he had passed away.
Yeah. I saw I was just saying I saw the Big Daddy Kane when he kind of cleared it up a little bit. He put it out there that he was still alive at the time.
Right.
When he dropped what he did, I did pick up on that. But and Biz Markie, a lot of people don't realize he fell in love with the DMV, came down here, and
Yes, he did.
lived and even had a little radio show down here. He's one of us for quite some time.
Yes, he was. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, he had 2 homes. One of the homes he kept all his toys and collectibles in, and he lived in the other. They're right next door to each other. That's the honest to God truth. He had that many toys and collectibles that it could fill up the whole house.
That's what I'm talking about. That sounded like the Biz. He was always a unique guy. He was that different offshoot. I think he kind of showed hip hop that you don't have to take yourself too serious. Right. And he kind of put himself out there. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Well, as far as his personality, he did not want to be like a clown prince. Biz wanted to be serious, and his ghostwriter Kane tried to make him sound serious with songs like Nobody Beats the Biz and The Vapors and Going Off, but nobody took him serious. So it turned into the whole clown prince thing.
Right.
So, but yeah, as far as a showman, he came here about 7 years ago and performed, and it was fantastic. He He had everyone laughing. He was doing impersonations of Michael Jackson. He's like, this is my favorite entertainer. He was doing the moonwalk across the stage and kicking his leg up the way Mike would. And we loved it. We absolutely loved it, but nobody saw this coming. No one saw this coming. It goes back to what you said. Biz passing away from diabetes. We lost Phife Dawg to diabetes, and Ghostface is dealing with it.
Oh wow!
Didn't know that. Killed the Wu-Tang Clan. So it is something that's manageable if it's caught early. Phife was very open about how he loved sweets and he could not control his urges to eat sweets. Cost him his life.
Yeah.
So, but as far as Biz goes, he contributed so much. He gave us so much. He gave us Big Daddy Kane. His younger brother Diamond Shell's project. It's a sleeper hit. It's a fantastic album. He gave us Granddaddy IU.
Now people don't know about Brother IU down there.
They don't know about the school.
You gotta dig in them crates to hear IU, Granddaddy. He dropped some jewels too. That's what about.
But he contributed, gave us so much. His cousin Cool V is on the airways with Roxanne Shante today.
Right now.
Show.
Excellent radio, yeah.
He left a big hole in the entertainment industry. He really has, especially in the Juice Crew.
Yeah, the Juice Crew. You know, so before it got popular as it is now, and everybody, and now I think they more look at it as look, we the OGs of DMV, man. I'm go ahead and say it. You know, I can't keep up with this drill music that kind of spun off from the trap.
I don't try to.
And so they kind of associate the crews with gangs and this and that.
Right.
It wasn't like that. These were actual crews, conglomerates, individuals who came together to work together. I mean, it didn't necessarily start from certain areas. You know, they knew each other and everything like that. But at the end of the day, it was just, love and affection of who you were around. So the Juice Crew, that was Kane, Marley, Roxanne, Dan, all of that.
Cool G Rap.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people don't know about Cool G. Another underground sensation. And so, So the Juice Crew made some noise back then, and it really kind of started individuals to look like, hey, man, we gotta come together because these guys are unified. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you something you just said that was important when you made the reference to drill music. We actually were dealing with the same thing these kids are dealing with now, except they don't have a comfort zone. Kane was out there sticking kids up. G-Rap was a pimp and running around with a crew, busting guns.
Right.
But what happened was he crossed paths with Rakim and wanted to hang with Rakim, and Rakim said, well, you can't be doing all this gangster stuff and hanging with me. And a few people know that Cool G-Rap is a Sunni Muslim. So the fact that he was able to connect with Rakim, who's a 5%er, he said, I acknowledge yourself. You're a Muslim. You took a salah. Be done with this. Right. If you want to walk with me, let's do this. And he basically references LL Cool J and Rakim as his lyrical influences. They pulled him out of the street. Kane being a 5%er, he actually very early on references Rakim as someone he looked up to get out of the street. So, but where Biz comes in all this is being Shantae's hype man, making her very successful. She actually was the one who popularized this second tier of the Juice Crew and allowed Kane, G-Rap, Craig G, Master Ace, who also is an offshoot of Big Daddy Kane.
Master Ace still doing his thing.
He is the pin that allowed all these dudes to find a lane to get on. His helping Shantae get popular created a career for all these people.
Right.
So he definitely left his mark. But my point was that these kids doing these drill music, they don't have someone like a Rakim to come in and say, okay, you know what? You don't have to do this. They have people encouraging them to do this.
Right.
People forget that Rakim was part of the Juice Crew back in '86.
Yeah.
And actually produced his first single.
Yeah, it's funny how the money is behind all the negativity, and so it's no longer about the skill set of the lyrics, but about getting the bag.
And it's not about being conscious as well either, having a conscience. Yeah. We need to have that again, But Biz definitely provided some humor, making us laugh with picking boogers and,
that was my point.
Exactly. And you play that back and forth, and there's parts that make you cringe, but then you're laughing.
Exactly.
So he left his mark. Even with Just a Friend, you're laughing at that.
Right.
Yeah. And even self-deprecating. When I heard Picking Boogers, but I had to tape. You had to have a man sitting on the toilet.
Exactly.
Hey, listen, a lot of people don't understand. Let me go ahead. DMV Sports 3, a lot of our audience, we got to make sure there's a thing called a cassette tape. It was about this big. I'm serious. My daughter's listening like, cassette tape? What is that? They don't even know what what it goes in. Those devices are not even around the houses anymore.
They're collector's items.
Yeah, so we don't want
boxes of them in the basement.
And can you play them? The question is, can you play them? Because if you got the device to play them, you good. If you can't,
I got 3 boom boxes down there in the basement wrapped in plastic.
There you go.
I got a stereo downstairs in the basement as well. That's where all the retro stuff is. And the townhouse is in the basement.
Hey, that's back in the day when cats used to walk around with D batteries in their bag.
Exactly.
Carry a bag of D batteries, baby.
And that's why they wrapped up in plastic. I don't have the money to keep my. I'm good.
Hey,
that's all right.
That's a perfect reference to Do the Right Thing.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. A lot of people that you go back, if you guys don't know what we're talking about, go back and check that out. You will see what it was. Once them D batteries go, it's time to go get some more. You got to get a lot of them too.
It's a wrap.
But speaking of individuals who didn't take themselves too seriously, another individual who we lost recently, gentleman by the name of Shock G.
Yeah.
And this guy right here touched many individuals too. And I think our young audience is going to really understand and hear who Shock G brought on and how he came through the digital underground. So, Brother Rodger, break that down for him.
Well, Shock G, who is originally from Queens, New York.
You put on your panties.
Traveled to Los Angeles.
And we're cut again.
That's not bad. It's over.
He basically introduced the world to Tupac Amaru Shakur.
Yes,
he gave Tupac his big break on the same song track on the Digital Underground's EP, but he's all over the first set of videos from their debut album. You can see Tupac in the background all over the place as a roadie.
That's right.
But the man was a genius who ironically passed away the same age as Biz Markie, 57 years old. Yeah. They're trying to say it was from an overdose of fentanyl and methamphetamines. None of his people said he had a drug problem whatsoever. So that's a whole nother show. I have a whole lot, like I've done this on my show. I have a whole lot of questions that can't be answered. Stuff that doesn't make sense. His brother spoke highly of him at his wake. Said, my brother, I spoke to him every week. Went to visit him every month. Didn't know he had any drug issues.
I got a question. So that's funny you said that. And we don't have to go too deep. Sure. But I remember, and again, being an enthusiast, I kept up and everything like that. And I was reading an article. And I know one of his biggest idols, or what was claimed in said article, and nowadays you got to question everything, was that his biggest idol was George Clinton.
Yes, sir.
And George Clinton was never ashamed of admitting that, he used drugs, and I mean drugs, recreationally, right. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so to hear that initially, and in what you're saying, I definitely want to go a little deeper. I don't know what the question is, but he was in this particular article that I was reading, he was very pretty much adamant about the psychedelics, the things that allow him to get a little more creative. He was very much into it per article. So
right.
How you feel about that? You were saying?
Well, here's the thing. He's become reclusive the last few years. He was tired of the politics of the industry, and he actually didn't even want to be in a studio with people because he felt like he's being pushed in a direction creatively he did not want to go. He didn't want to make as the drill music we're talking about and this pop version of music. He wanted to stick to the script. He was actually doing more live instrumentation. He did not want to delve into what's going on with the industry right now. And those closest to him said, we didn't see any change in his behavior. None. They said there was talk of a incident where he ran through the lobby of a hotel naked. Now, the friend of his, a bodyguard, said he was drunk. He wasn't high, and he was always partying with women.
Right.
Okay, so that would explain why he was naked. But I mean, I'm just saying what it is. But as far as the drugs go, it's going to always be questionable. It's going to be questionable because this man, his thinking was so far ahead of what he pretty much forecast what's going on right now musically.
Mm-hmm. Now, Mr. Rodgers, he was part of the Oakland scene, right? It was heavy into poetry and stuff like that. And I know in Oakland, that is being natural is a big thing in Oakland. Is that the reason why he kind of moved away from the mainstream of music of today? Well, he was always part of the Oakland scene.
He's like a lot of the OGs. The industry changed. You don't see a lane for yourself. D-Nice tells a story where he and Big Daddy Kane walked into a McDonald's. And D-Nice had been talking to Kane the whole morning, like, let's put a new album out for you. This was like maybe 10 years ago. And Kane said, I'm about to show you right now why I won't put an album out. They go up to the register. Kane asked for a coffee. The girl says, oh my God, it's Chuck D. So it was just like, yeah. So basically, he said, this is why. He said, this generation has picked its own heroes. He said, I would rather just perform my catalog like I had it. And this is what Shock G was doing. He was putting on these mini concerts, playing his live instrumentation. You can find them all on YouTube. You can find them all. Right. So, and I also think that losing Tupac the way he did, it did something to him. He might have felt guilty about bringing Pac into the industry, but he really pulled himself away. And this has been for a number of years. He lost one of his homes to a fire. I don't know if you guys remember, maybe 20 years ago, those big raging fires out in California.
He lost a huge catalog. Yeah,
exactly. So I mean, it's a lot of things, but I just I'm riding with his brother and his bodyguard.
Let's ride
with him. I don't believe that he was dealing with as far as any drug issues. Mm-hmm. I think that's always the go-to with our entertainers, with our giants. Mm-hmm. Drugs and alcohol or prescribed drugs overdose. I'm not buying it.
It's so easy. I think all of our heroes in the industry have all left that way. Isn't that strange? You would think like a negative thing, or the whole industry would say, we're cleaning it up. Nobody comes in. If you want to be an artist, you do nothing. You would think that all of these, and it's not just hip hop, it's R&B, it's folk music, it's Janis Joplin too. All the way, you can run from the beginning to the end. It's the same story. So you would think that would not be the case by now. We would have got that, right?
And that's why I'm saying I'm not buying this. There's more. That's a whole nother show. There's
a lot of shows.
Even on here, I have to edit myself because I'll get hot and start talking about these little backdoor stories, things that when I'm researching, I can connect the dots, and I always say, oh, Rodger, don't do that. They're going to take us off the air. I've already had 3 shows taken off the air. So I've learned you get older, you get wiser.
Yeah. We're trying to get wiser.
Exactly. You had a show taken off.
Yes, 3.
Not a
3. Well, Derek, you got my resume in front of you. There's one of them. There was a show after that and a show after that. And after that, it was just like, okay, y'all, no, I don't want to talk about any of that stuff. I'll talk about the surface stuff. So I know where to keep it safe.
Right on.
Yeah. They keep an eye on what you're saying, man.
Yes, they do.
And it's funny that Shock G had a song called All Around the World, the Same Storm. So that's what we're talking about, man. It's the same story. Everything keeps coming back around.
That's right.
That's right.
I'm sorry, Al, you about to say something.
Mr. Rodgers, I know they're having a movie about to come out on streaming. I forgot which streaming platform it's coming out on, but I believe it's talking about Biggie's death. And
the police involved. Last man standing with the police that were involved in his shooting.
Do you know anything about that at all, Mr. Rodgers?
Absolutely. I studied that extensively, and let me talk carefully here because it resulted in actually the information I believe resulted in one of the shows being taken off, but I'll stick to the surface. Randall Sullivan has a book called The Labyrinth, and actually the adaptation of one of his books. It was the USA version of Unsolved Mysteries, Biggie and Tupac. I don't know if you got a chance to see it.
I saw that.
Actor Mark Rose and another brother's name is escaping me right now. They did brilliant depictions of Biggie and Tupac. Well, anyway, Randall Sullivan was one of the first people besides the late Detective Robert Poole who uncovered the fact that 300 LAPD officers were working undercover, moonlighting for Death Row Records back during his height. Okay, so this is public knowledge. David Perez and David Mack were the two officers that are most polarized right now in the press. They're supposedly, or alleged, to have helped coordinate Big's murder the night he was killed. They were at the Peterson Museum. They were outside with walkie-talkies helping to coordinate his murder. So yeah, like I said, I could talk for days on that. I talked my wife's ear off about it, and I've done so on the air, and I have to like catch myself. But what I just told you is public knowledge. David Mack actually robbed a bank right after Big was murdered. Got away with $750,000. He may actually be free now, but he was in prison for that. But Detective Robert Poole was able to connect the dots and connect them to being at the Peterson Museum the night Big was murdered. He actually was able to put him there, but he didn't talk about that. The LAPD decided he's going to go down for the bank robbery, not for his involvement in Big's murder, as well as David Perez, who is an officer. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Rampart.
Yeah. Rampart.
Are you familiar with them?
Yeah, that's what
in LA. You know, the Rampart department, that whole unit, they're responsible for like crippling people they arrested. David Perez also went down for that, but Robert Poole was able to connect him to being at the museum that night of Big's murder. But he didn't go down. They didn't charge him with that.
Yeah, from what I understand, the Rampart, that's what the movie Colors was based off of. I mean, individuals have been a staple in the LA community and not necessarily
vicious. They vicious, beating brothers, raping women. They would smash the tail light out and say, if you don't have sex with me, you're gonna go to jail. I'm gonna put you away for 90 days, whatever. Throw some cocaine in the backseat. They were dirty. They were dirty. That was rough.
And you wonder where all that gangster rapping came from.
Well, listen, they were dealing with it as they dealt with it as long as they could, and that's where NWA spoke out, and then Compton's Most Wanted spoke out, and so forth and so forth.
So on,
right. Yes, sir.
So
I got a library here at the house, man. I've had to, when I was on the air, it's in the notes, Derek, straight from the underground. When I was on the air there, that was U of R University. I had to be on top of my game. So, and my wife, who was just my girlfriend at the time, she would get me books following Big's murder, anything connected to Big and Tupac being murdered. And the amount of journalism that went into these guys passing away, there was no way you could think they were just killed over some East Coast, West Coast battle. It simply was not the case. It just wasn't.
Yeah. Go ahead, Trey.
No, I'm just saying, I mean, that's a lie. We might have to make you an actual segment, because this is heavy stuff, man. But, you know, we were just trying to keep with the things that we were doing. We spoke of, Biz Markie, Shock G. I'm going to go not further back, but one of my favorite all time. I mean, just really wrap my head about. I remember delivering newspapers, and I had this in the headphones in my Walkman. You look it up. Sir. Look it up, folks. Look it up.
Got 4 of those in the basement too.
And it was a group by the name of Houdini.
Yes, sir.
And Houdini was probably the most sonically, musically hip-hop group that ever graced the scene. I mean, I'm talking about when you listen to their stuff, it is a 100%, I think, the best crossover from the music of the time that was popular to hip hop. They blended that so that it was you could hear the hip hop, but you also could hear, the R&B. It was right there. It was perfect. And one of their main MCs, Ecstasy, he also passed away.
Yes, sir.
I never forget going to the Superfest. I think I was down in Savannah, Georgia, and I caught the Superfest. And these guys, man, they got on stage and just shut it down. And at the very end, just to highlight their DJ, that he was scratching left and right.
Yep.
And he was scratching left and right. And they went behind him and they grabbed his legs.
Yeah.
They lifted him up. And he kept scratching. He didn't skip. He didn't do whatever. And I was just like, as a kid, like, ah. And it was it was the greatest thing I ever saw. Tell us a little bit about Houdini, and there he is with the hat, Ecstasy.
Oh, absolutely. Having had the pleasure to finally meet them face to face when they came here to Stalin Rhino Stadium here in Rochester, New York. I got a chance to speak with Jalil. Ecstasy was being crowded by too many women. It was impossible to get close to him. Just wanted to take a picture and shake hands with him. I was able to take a picture with Grandmaster D and Jalil, but couldn't get near Ecstasy. They perfectly blended R&B, hip hop, as well as hip hop's first real hip hop band, Stetsasonic. Rest in peace, Larry Smith, who was responsible for doing the production music on their records. To date, there has been no official cause of Ecstasy's death. The family has not released anything. But here's what I will say was really sad about all that. Having Grandmaster D publicly come out and verify the family needed a GoFundMe to bury him.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was crazy.
That was awful. That was
crazy.
awful. No hip hop artist this far in the game
should ever
needed that.
Right.
No way in the world. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Rap Royalty Network.
Nah.
Rap Royalty Network was shout out to Wendy Day. She's a young Caucasian woman who had a magazine in hip hop for a while called Ozone Magazine. Believe it or not, Wendy Day and Suge Knight, before Death Row, were trying to make it their business to, one, recover back royalties for rappers, and two, start healthcare for rappers and life insurance for their families.
Wow.
And this, of course, got sidelined when Suge Knight got his deal with Interscope. He went in a completely different direction.
Honestly.
And kind of left Wendy Day over here. And it would have been the first time someone publicly initiated this. He was very vocal about this very early in the career, having been Bobby Brown's security, Luther Vandross. Oh my gosh. Most of New Edition, he had been their bodyguard. He saw the artist struggling with just regular healthcare. Just regular healthcare. He said, I want to make sure the artists on death row, Suge, I want to make sure my artists get healthcare and their families are all taken care of. And that went all out the window.
Man, money started coming.
But to go back to Houdini, I have a suspicion of what happened. I won't say it on your show because you guys look like you just recovering for that whole YouTube fiasco.
Allegedly.
I shared this with my wife and Cello. I have a suspicion, and I wrote it down, and I gave it to my crew, Lafayette. I said, now when this comes out, y'all got it written down. I think I'm correct on why he died. I got an idea where he passed away from.
Just based on there. We'll talk off air. I want to know.
Listen, we'll talk. I don't have a problem doing that, but I don't want to do it on your show. And then it's like, well, thanks a lot, Rod. We just get back together. No, I have an idea what happened with that brother, but that was a sad state of affairs that he needed a GoFundMe for his final wishes to be taken care of, and that says a lot for his family, who more than likely will not receive any royalty money from Houdini's work, which now is swinging heavy. Once a rapper dies, passes away, everyone wants that work, but the families very rarely get any of that royalty money.
I believe,
like you said, nobody that late in the game should be going through that at all. And it says something. And we're not big Jay-Z fans, but it says something about what he did for DMX's family. Buying the masters and making sure that his kids.
Well, can I correct you on something?
Oh,
that didn't happen.
Please.
That didn't happen.
Uh-huh.
That did not happen. Listen, I'm going to tell you something, Derek. No, I'm not. This is my cousin. I'm going to tell you something because I don't want you running around telling this story. Please. I got this show. I want this show to have
on the hate train, please.
Get him right, Rod. Get him right.
I don't mind hating.
I ain't never left.
Here's the thing. That was a rumor. that Swizz Beatz actually took to Instagram and cleared up. Do you know how much DMX's masters are worth? The man sold, listen now, he sold 7 million units 6 times. Do you really think Jay-Z could have acquired the rights to his work for $10 million?
Nope.
We're not even talking about the fact that when he died, the day he died, the next day, he was up 950% in streaming. Okay? No one would sell you anything for $10 million that was worth that much money. Now, what's getting him, however, is the back royalties, the money that he owes Def Jam. That's what's killing that. This is why his family won't see any money until that debt is settled. Overhead, sampling, the producers have to get hit off. The engineers who are working in the studio, and just the debt he owes that, and then the internal revenue has to get their money. He owes them somewhere close to almost $200,000 or $300,000, and that's without the arrears tied to him.
Right.
Okay, we talking about since the 90s in the early 2000s when things started to slow down. So yeah, that's how they get you too.
Yeah.
It's funny how the correction always is downplayed from what people put out there in the beginning.
Right.
You know, you put out this good feelings and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that.
That's right.
But it shouldn't have been Swizz Beatz that corrected that. It should have been Jay-Z, since he put that crap out there.
But you know why though? The same reason you don't like the dude, I don't like the dude. Okay, it's all he's a manufactured figure in the culture to make it look like you can attain this. He was put together. It has nothing to do with his work. It has nothing to do with his work. You don't even own his catalog. You don't even own his catalog. None of it. He lost his Blueprint album, which was one of his biggest albums, to Cold Crush. He mentioned him on a record talking about, I'm getting you back for what you did to Cold Crush. So Cold Crush sued him. They sued him for sampling their record while he was saying that. So they got ownership of the Blueprint album. Yeah. Okay.
He just lost a case with Jermaine Dupri, didn't he? Or was it
No, he's going back and forth right now with Dame Dash. Ownership of their first album. He owns it. Big Burke owns it, and he owns it. And what
he was trying to sell his third.
He wants to sell part of it, his portion of it. And Jay's blocking it. He's blocking it out of spite because they're not cool.
Right.
Because they're not cool. That's it. I'm gonna tell you one of the first rules. I'm gonna tell you one of the first rules I learned when I got on air. I have to check, double check, and triple check all my information because there's people out there waiting to hit a box, and this validates your show. And I always told you, Derek, you can hit me up and ask me questions, man. I'm like, you've seen the way I handle these dudes online,
right?
You know, they're casual fans. They're just casual fans, but we got to accurately account for this culture. There's too many good stories out here that's yet to be told.
So I'm gonna ask you a question, Mr. Rogers. You can clear this up with Dr.
Al,
Dre.
I need you to do me a favor first. Stop calling me Mr. Rogers. I don't wear a sweater and I don't change into shoes before I get none of that good stuff.
And if anything, he'll be Mr. Robinson, right?
Exactly.
All right, well, I'm gonna call you Cuz then. I'm gonna call you.
There you go.
I'm good with that.
Well, clear up the situation with Dr. Dre, his wife, and what exactly does he have with the Beats by Dre? Did he get $1 billion for that sale?
No, he did not. He did not get $1 billion.
And what is his wife getting with this divorce and her settlement?
She is going to get $3.5 million a year and $300,000 plus a month.
Oh, it's plus.
Yes.
On top of the 3.5.
Listen.
Okay.
Here's the thing. This is long overdue. This is a brother who has been beating and abusing women for years in the industry. He beat Terry B, who was signed to Ruthless Records back in the days. Michelle A, who he was dealing with and has a child with. He beat up D Barnes, who was basically reporting when NWA split. She let Ice Cube come on and tell his piece, and he gets mad, sees her at a party, jumps on her and beats her up in a woman's bathroom. She won a case against him for $22.5 million, of which she didn't even get a portion of that. So this was long overdue. I'm so happy his wife nailed his palms to the ground. When he left death row, he left broke. But Nicole was a prominent lawyer in LA. She held him down until that Chronic 2001 got off the ground. A lot of people don't know that. She did. It's another woman divorcing. No. And if I'm a betting man, he was beating her. And she just finally had enough.
Allegedly.
No, listen. I said if I was a betting man.
Right. we just got to clear it up.
But no. Let me thank you, Trey, but I'm going to say something. In her in the court document, she said he was beating her.
Yes, she did.
He said that.
Yeah, she did say that.
He said that. So there it is.
So what about the financial part of it? I mean, so is he close to being a billionaire, or did his IV get all the money? Who got the money with that selling their product?
Well, he and Jimmy Iovine, that was a business deal that they had.
Right.
So it looked like $1 billion deal going for Dre, when in fact the both of them split this money down the middle.
Okay.
So you take into account taxes and their lifestyle. I guess you could say he's close to $1 billion, but no more close to $1 billion than Jay-Z or one of these other rappers that's in the top tier. Puff Daddy, no closer than them. You keep getting to that top, and then something happens and brings you down.
Yeah, I think I looked it up. They said they got him at $820 million.
Exactly. So,
there.
you know, and my whole thing is this. Okay, you've been in the industry since 1986. I guess you should be a billionaire. This is what, your fourth deal? World-class wrecking crew, NWA, Death Row Records, your own Aftermath label now. So if anyone is a billionaire, it's Jimmy Iovine.
Right.
Twice.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, twice.
So that's it.
Nice.
So speaking of interesting things, and I know we just touched bases on there, we skipped over, you mentioned Puffy, and then I got to slide into another young man who left us, Black Rob.
Yes, sir.
Black Rob. And I think Black Rob was one of the first individuals who kind of challenged Puffy on, hey, Bad Boy wasn't all it cracked up to be.
Well, you know what? It was Craig. Craig was the first one to challenge him.
And Craig is gone.
But yeah. But
It's
Black Rob actually, there's an interview from 2016 he did on Sway 45. And he actually breaks down crying during the segment. You can find that on YouTube as well. He had a heart attack already. He had already had a heart attack, and he was talking to Sway and Heather B, and he brought up the issues about his health. And it's really touching because they weren't expecting it. And it was almost like a cry for help. It was almost like a cry for help. My health is bad. And he didn't mention he was homeless though, or about to be, but he was talking about how it was like he was scared. He was trying to let them know he was scared. He knew that the death was foreboding. But one of the things they asked was, how you doing? He said, I had a heart attack and a mild stroke. And then the brother passed away. I mean, he was on his deathbed when DMX passed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just really sad. It really is sad. Black Rob saved Bad Boy's fourth quarter that year after Big passed away. He saved their fourth quarter with his album Life Story. A phenomenal album. Definitely.
Yeah. What about Prince Markie Dee?
Huh?
Did we do Prince Markie Dee yet?
No, we did not do Prince Markie Dee.
Prince Markie Dee passed.
Now that was crazy for me. I was just getting into his show that he did with young sister Chanel, and it was during the pandemic, so they weren't in the same studio. It was kind of doing what we doing right here,
right?
And I'm really getting into Markie Dee's show, and I'll never forget this. Listening to his show the day before he passed from heart failure. Markie Dee had lost 172 pounds when he passed away.
Yeah, he lost a lot of weight.
He did. And Cool Rock was saying that one of the things that he had been kind of melancholy about was there was a young lady he had been dating, and he longed to get back with her, but it didn't seem like they were going to reconcile. And he would like call and talk to him about it and whatnot, and he don't think that was the cause. He thinks basically his heart gave out just from all those years of carrying all that extra weight.
Yeah.
But he really got really healthy. He was eating right. He was getting his rest and whatnot. And his show was crazy. Just like we're doing right now. Markie Dee had all these historic stories from the Fresh Fest, from the early days in the industry, the artists that he knew. The next day he's dead. But yeah, heart failure was the cause of death for him. I don't know if y'all know this. The Fat Boys sold more records than the early days of their career than Run DMC and Houdini combined.
Yeah, I was just about to say, for those of you who are watching and trying to keep up, he was 1/3 of the group called the Fat Boys, another iconic group that did not take themselves as serious. Matter of fact, Disorderlies, they did a movie.
Yeah,
you can look that up. So they were like one of the first before House Party. They put it out there.
Don't look at it as a historic movie. Don't take it seriously.
Come on, man. With these movies they put out now, man, that it works perfectly. Disorderlies was what it was at the time, and it was just something to highlight to those in the suburban areas of America, that middle class that want to know, and they wanted some friendly hip hop because hip hop was always angry. We go back to Grandmaster Flash when he was talking about the message. People were like, "Well, that's a little too much for me. I don't know how much I would do about that broken glass everywhere." You know what I'm saying?
Well, if you listen to or watch the 5 Heartbeats, you remember the scene where they're sitting there and the manager is saying, what we wanted to try to do is create an album where black folks and white folks come together. And he had the cover, but there was no black people on the cover.
Right.
That Boy's first album was a hard album. But their manager at Tin Pan Apple, actually Sultra Records, let me correct myself, decided we want to go to pop route. We want to go to pop route. We want to kind of make you guys the clown prince because they were overweight. So they figured no one would take them serious anyway. They wanted to keep making hard records. But he said, you're not going to sell records because no one is going to take you serious.
You heard it here first.
So they went the pop way and they sold millions of records. But later on down the line, they expressed the fact that they were disenchanted with that direction. Now they made money. Unfortunately, it didn't transfer to them. The label made a ton of money. The deal was crappy, like most of those early deals.
Right.
But Markie Dee's ship came in years later in the early part of the 90s when he was signed to a record. Mariah Carey's old ex-husband, Jimmy Mottola, signed him to his label and gave Markie Dee this huge house and this incredible deal. And his soul album was crazy. Yeah, but what was going on at the time? We was getting ready to go into gangster rap, and Public Enemy had been dominating, conscious rap had been dominating the scene. Right. It got slept on. But everybody else was just kind of struggling. The Human Beatbox would pass away just a few years later, 95, 96. And Cool Rock Ski lost all that weight. He was basically trying to save his life. He'd already got his warning from his doctor. Right. And he's still skinny to this day. Right. But the other guys, they just, they maintained. But now he's the lone fat boy.
And he's not fat.
No, he's not fat. Yeah. No, sir.
Changed, right.
I was listening to Markie Dee on Rock the Bells.
Yes, sir.
And, he was doing a good job, man. It was just a surprise because he didn't seem like he was unhealthy. Right. Vocally, I couldn't tell by seeing him, but it was never anybody saying, "Hey, man, do this and do that" on the radio. So we know people from a distance,
It's an ugly trend. Steezo, who was one of the dancers in EPMD, he died in his sleep from heart failure.
I didn't know that. Steezo.
Steezo
was one of the. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Trey.
No, you go ahead, bro.
Well, no. What I was saying was, he had put on a lot of weight. He was in there's a really, really good YouTube interview with him. Up in spirits, laughing, enjoying himself and whatnot. Just after that interview, he goes to bed that night, does not wake up, dies in his sleep. Wow. And 53 years old, same age as Markie Dee.
Right.
53 years old. Heart failure.
Mortality is a huge thing, man.
Our health is the huge thing.
Yes, it is.
Celebrity does not make you immune
to any
of these things. And that's what's killing us. So
right. And so before we shut it down, I know you brought up Steezo.
Yes, sir.
And I think of all of that, and maybe you reminded me of another gentleman who's gone, and he, not recently, but I thought of Heavy D when I think of Prince Markie Dee. I thought of one of his dancers. His name leaves me right now. Yeah, Trouble T. Roy passed before him. It's so many of these iconic visionaries. These guys, I loved. Let's say this. I can't say I loved it, but I thought it was a decent rendition because I didn't like how they did Spinderella, but the Salt and Pepper movie that came out kind of touched on that. You got to think about a time and an era where everybody around you is getting a shot. You know what I'm saying? Everybody is somehow either connected or about to be connected. Who's going to be the next thing? I recently saw an interview of Stetsasonic lead man. Give me his name. Daddy-O was talking about the whole Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation thing, and he was really breaking down a lot of that stuff. And he was bringing up names of individuals who were trying to get on. He brought up Flavor Flav and how he was trying to get on and all of that. Right. So it really makes a connection of what really happened. It was a moment in time, and there was a culture and a city, and all those things kind of came together.
Real quick, because I know you said you being time conscious here. You brought up Daddy-O. Daddy-O leaves a bad taste in my mouth because he actually did an interview a couple of years ago saying that Rakim told the biggest lie.
I saw that.
Yeah, you saw that?
I saw it.
How dare this dude question the God? Rakim does not attack anyone. Okay, he is revered in the culture. Okay, and all I could think to myself was, no one knew who half of the dudes were in 86 until Rakim caused this change and left the gate open and said, you know what? We don't have to all walk around and Kane goes acting loud and screaming on records and whatnot. Prince Paul, one of the producers, that is out of Long Island where Rakim is from. So if Rakim had not become popular at the time, no one would care about Stetsasonic.
Right.
Okay, and more to the point, which made what Daddy-O said garbage, he actually quoted Rakim when challenging the industry about challenging rappers about sampling by saying in the song, all that jazz, tell the truth, James Brown was old to Eric and Ross sampled I Got Soul. How you gonna quote the man and then call him a liar? Unless you're jealous. Now, I think I know why he said it. He's Daddy-O. One of the producers on Audio 2's song Top Billin'. He is a co-producer, but the only person you ever hear about is Milk D. Milk D is still eating off of that record because everyone has sampled that record. So he still gets a sampling fee for that. I don't think Daddy-O is getting any money. I don't think I've never seen him in an interview. Never say he's getting any cash from that. So I'm just like, dude, if you angry about something, don't take it out on the God.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, Audio 2 brought out MC Light. Who else was in that?
That's his sister. That's their sister. That's Milk and Giz's sister.
Yeah, who else was in that crew? They had a little following going on.
Well, no, that's the Top Priority family.
Top Priority. That's
Positive K is over there in that family.
Yeah.
They had we just named the core who was popular there.
Yeah, and we forgot about
Nikki Dee out of Canada. She was signed to Top Priority.
Okay.
There was MC Peaches who was down with Top Priority, but the core we just named were the popular ones.
Yeah. We mentioned I believe we mentioned Heavy D, and that was Uptown Records.
Right.
Uptown, they had Groove Beat Chill. One of them members is Finesse Sequence. And what was the other? There was one more group that was with them other than Heavy D.
And Uptown?
Yeah, it was one more. I'm thinking, I can't think of the name now, but
And there is your point right there. No, listen, it is what it is. That video is iconic because you saw a bunch of people that did not get on. A lot of people did not get on. Yeah, exactly. That was their moment. That was their moment right there.
Well, it is. But you know what? speaking of moments, man, this has been a great moment for us, man. For
Thank
having
you
you
so much,
on today, man. Just being able to chop it up with Mr. Rodger, the legend when it comes to the history of hip hop.
Oh,
Hey, we're gonna have to bring you on because I think a lot of young folk don't know, and they really got to get it. And we got a lot of older young people out there who, I say young people, older, you know what I'm saying, who still pop in their CDs and stuff like that. And when they hear that old school, they realize that, man, it was a time then, you know, and things really mattered, and you know, people took the time to put it together, you know, instead of having the same beat and this and that. But we're not gonna go there, you know.
Right.
So will be another show.
Hey, but we hope there is another show. We hope there is another show.
Absolutely, there will be. Hey, two things. Chuck D, my favorite rap, you know.
Okay.
And Eric B. Rakim. Yeah,
Okay.
Rakim. That was. I just like that kind of music, man. Second, man, people may wonder why we doing a hip hop show, man. We're a sports show, but we touch on a lot of stuff. I mean, we do a film show as well. But you know, hip hop touches a lot of parts of the industry, a lot of parts of your history. And football, basketball, all these guys, man, all connected to hip hop. They grown up in the era, they grown up in the industry, and you know, you can't just let things go by for too long without saying something about some of the iconic people who have passed away. And we appreciate you coming on, Mr. Jones.
Of course.
We appreciate Mr. Historian. Yes, sir. And they'll put his accolades in the comments so that everybody knows where to find you. And
I like the way you said that. Everyone knows where to find you. So Daddy-O can track you down with ease.
He said it, Daddy-O.
We practice that so that we don't get
Sally. That was my joint. Girl named Sally. With a spoon of fork.
Gentlemen, it's good to see y'all again. Mr. Rodger Jones, we're gonna have you on again, man, if you are willing to come back.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you coming on.
All right. Thank you, Al. Thank you, Trey. Appreciate it, cousin.
All right. All right.
It's you until you laid out. Stop believing you leaving, shut your eyes and fade out. And everything's man-made, so it's greed that's killing weed. So one of these days